Yay! Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and oh my goodness, I'm so ready for this live, and it's actually almost in that topic, but not really, because lots of times we make small things into big things, and that is the truth 100%. And because I am that true believer, and what you think about is realized, I can be really kind of hard on myself with my way of thinking, because I can get a subject into my mind and I can munch on it, right? But I've come to realize over these, well, it's kind of been dripping into me like a faucet, consistently for a few years. But I think as it comes into our system and is digested a little bit better, we understand it a little bit better. And I'm using these uh, ideas and understandings as tools in my everyday, day to day. And it never ceases to amaze me the miracles that actually can happen in my life and do happen in my life. And depending on you, right? Maybe in your mind, a miracle is, like a Mother Mary statue, right? Crying blood and stuff. But for me, it's just in those small things that work out for me, right? So we're going to tie in. Let's first start. I'm going to just pull this forward just one slight bit here, just so I can. Oh, I've got it plugged in so we don't lose power. Okay. So my cup today is, and if you hang out with me for any length of time, hi William. Hello dear. Thank you for popping into my live today. How is it? How's the weather down in the Bronx right now? Is it a bright sunny day? Do you have some rain? Are the forest fires bothering a little bit? And what have you been up to during the week? But in any case, let's back into it, right? My cup today, if you've been with me for any length of time, you know I like my inspirational coffee mugs. It's a great way to start a conversation, number one. But being in the topic of change, when I make my morning coffee, I've been specifically looking for cups that might work into the conversation. And we were talking yesterday a little bit about the pain of change, right? Oh, some rain would be nice. I like the rain on my days off, William. You know I like my rainy days on my days off. And this past few weeks, I have been graced with it, right? These are the miracles that happen, when I walk in the door from a bike ride or going for a walk, and I walk in the door, and then all of a sudden, right? You can see the clouds coming, but you make it in the door just in the nick of the time before it just downpours you, and you didn't even get a drop on you, right? Yeah. These simple things are like the miracles, my cup, right? The darkest nights produce the brightest stars. For me, when I started this journey and I looked around and I saw so many great thought leaders, right? Really struggling to get their word out, to put a good word out, good influence, things that will help people move in a way that will be a little bit more comfortable or a little bit more beneficial in their life, and whether or not that's taken away some of that stress, some of that frustration, some of that fear, some of that anxiety. But sometimes it's bringing into our life, like those little miracles, right? I am so grateful for how my life is directed. And though I don't always have an inkling of exactly what's going on, I don't think that I'm meant to delve into that topic, right? Because we understand the deeper we get into some subjects, right, the more stress that it gives us, the more we can see that we're not meeting up to the standards of the people that we admire and hope to be like, right? Or maybe not even be like, but to be able to contribute the way that they contribute, you know. So when we talk about change, being sensitive and being highly empathic, right, it's really hard to introduce change into our lives, but change finds us, doesn't it? Being empathic, we're kind of like that magnet to all that crap in the world that nobody wants to hold on to themselves or take care of themselves, right? Sometimes because they don't know how to, sometimes they're afraid of it, right? Sometimes it's just the fact that they don't understand it, and sometimes people think that this kind of work on ourselves is beneath us, right? Somebody else can do that. Where's my whipping boy, right? Where's my scapegoat? Where's my little slave who's going to do all that dirty work for me, right? And I'm sitting here right now, and I've sat here, right, with with all these ideas, right, for myself and all these goals and dreams and ambitions. And I know none of it is going to manifest because they're mine, right? And unless I make that choice to get into the mix, right? Let the universe know what you truly want from it, what would make you happy. But at the same time, right? We have to understand a lot of that happiness is what we bring to the table, right? You get what you give, and that was a big lesson that I had to learn, right? I had to learn, and it's very painful sometimes to know that, because when you always feel like you're not getting anything, you don't want to give anything, right? And you went when you set your goals and you divvy out all that magic and gifts that you have to the world, right? This, you're the king of your castle. This is yours, right? Like I was talking yesterday, that this brand, this PrairieDodgers, this is everything to me, and it belongs to me. If it fails, that's on my lap. If it succeeds, it's going to be in my lap, right? And that doesn't mean that nobody gets to have a say, because if you go into my details on my channel page and you see the links and you see the bios and you see the love and the creativity in my channel art and stuff, you can actually see the contribution. You can see the work. You can see the effort. You can see that right to be proud of what I brought to the table. But none of that would have happened. And believe me, that was frustrating, just as frustrating as it was for me to try to get my thumbnail ready for today's live, right? For today's, which will be a podcast. So if you don't, you're only here for a few minutes, right? If you can only pop in for a few minutes, then perfect. If you want to pop in later, just go straight to my podcast. You'll find all these lives will be in a playlist, my podcast playlist, and I hope you get something of it. Each week, we're going to try and stay on topic, right? This week, I hope you get the message that we're talking about change, right? We're talking about change, and each day it'll be a different kind of side, right? A different view of that cube, right? of change, because it's about perspectives, truly, isn't it? That human perspective, that cultural perspective, that religious perspective, that spiritual perspective. But what stays the same amongst all of that is the fact that we're empathic and highly sensitive, right? That we're feeling our way around and we're picking up information and lessons and people along the way, right? And some of these ideas, when they stick, they become a part of us. But that's our choices, right? And through choices and making that movement within the choice that we make, that is what causes the change. And that's what's so painful, right? Because as highly sensitives and as empaths, we're always looking for what hurts the less, right? Or the least, what hurts the least, which is going to be the most comfortable, which is going to be the easy. And if at all possible, how can we get out of it completely, right? Is that one of yours? Right? It used to be one of mine. But I try to hold myself accountable to myself, to my brand, right? Understanding it's a process and giving myself that permission, that permission. It doesn't need to be here yesterday. My life is a creation that I am creating, and I don't want that PhD, right? 4 degrees up the yin yang, right? Lesson in my pocket if I don't have all the tools, right? And all those painful experiences that I learned, that I put through my own sweat, my own tears, right? My own physical effort, my choices. And we're talking about choices next week. Hopefully I do a better job at staying on topic with choice. But the thing is, choices and change, they are partners, right? They are partners. They are the movement. They are the opportunity. Oh my goodness, are they the opportunity? 100%. But you'll never know that until you make that choice. And that's not to say that you have to make a painful choice, because I make baby steps, right? When I first came into some of these ideas, yes, right? Munchy munchy. Oh my goodness. All of this is answering questions. Oh my goodness. Life is getting better. Oh my goodness. The stress is coming off. I get it, right? But we can get a little bit punch drunk on that, and we could forget that this is an evolutionary process. And right, there is that human part of us, and in that understanding that I have, that I'm creating the best human being that I possibly can, I can't always stay there, right? I have to stay grounded in my life. But that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the input and the miracles that come into my life when I make these choices in the creation of the best human being as I possibly can, because I'm creating, right? I'm making movement, I'm making choices, and I'm doing my darndest to move within those choices, understanding, but because I'm doing baby steps, that I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to fall flat on my face, but I have to learn to just get up and brush my knees off and just get back into it and not give up on it, right? Right? I skinned my knees yesterday. It hurts. It still hurts, right? I was jumping a new sidewalk, and I kind of just misjudged the distance, and there was a big tree not 3 feet. We're going to say a foot and a half drop into some gravel. And yeah, I missed it. It's kind of like cliff jumping when you jump off one cliff and you're jumping onto the other. And I made it. Well, not really. I survived it. But, right, a misjudgment. And we should be able to allow ourselves to have that permission to make those kind of failures because we tried, right? And it was painful. It was painful. It was a choice that I made to jump that big, huge square. And I used to do it in my younger years. I used to jump these 4 foot squares, and it got to the point I was so good, it was almost like a step and not a jump. And I was so good at it. And I tried it, right? When I went to get on the bus and it didn't quite work out for me, and right, skinned my knees a little bit. Now, because I don't give up, I'm still going to get on the bus, but, right, we're going to step into the hole and then step back up onto the sidewalk, right? Instead of bypassing and jumping from one cliff to the other, hoping we're going to make it, right? Lesson learned. Painful, painful lesson learned. But in the end, it was a gift, wasn't it? Right? I won't be trying that again. I made a choice. It didn't quite work out for me. It was a little bit of a mistake, a little bit of a misjudgment, to a little bit of a failure, right? A little bit funny watching the little old lady, right? I scared the poop out of the girl I work with, right? She cares for me. She cares for me lots. And I got to remember, right? I'm not 30 anymore. Grateful for my good health. I'm grateful for my good health, right? But we're not pushing it because there are parts of us who make these silly decisions and could truly jump off a cliff, hopefully making a choice themselves at the very least and not listening to somebody else. It was a saying my dad and mom used to say all the time. If somebody told you to jump off the cliff, would you? Right? But sometimes we make these silly decisions, these silly choices ourselves, right? And through that pain, right? I had good intention. All I wanted to do was to get on the bus, enjoy the moment, feel like I was doing something fun, like I was in a playground or something, a little bit of construction going on there, right? But I could have done it more carefully. The darkest nights, right? Produce the brightest stars. And that's my hope because you know, I was my own worst enemy. That's my and it wasn't an enemy. I was never my own worst enemy, but I was kind of right. I was unaware and I had adventures. I had a life and I could have put my life to a little bit better use by making some better choices, right? By getting some better influence, by choosing better friends and better jobs and better coworkers. But this is the humanness of it. This is the adventure. This is the experience. This is the lessons, right? And sometimes, because we live on the present and we just move on to the next experience, right? Cindy, after work tonight, might jump that sidewalk again and end up in that hole again. But I'm going to take it as a lesson, right? Okay, so darkest nights produce the brightest stars. My light in the darknesses are the ones who are struggling and giving to the world, that are trying to do good, trying to better themselves, trying to bring a little bit of light to the surface of the world. And we should all be doing this for each other, but we don't always. But in this idea of stepping up to the plate and just contributing what you can contribute, even if it's just contributing what you learn along the way, the mistakes you make along the mistakes you make along the way, the lessons you learn along the way, right? The fun, the joy, right? Being better to handle some of those really skyrocketing emotions that can, right, tie us up for a little while. And if you're anything like me, right, ties you up for quite a little while. And my hopes is that, right, it won't be as long for you as it was for me. And at the very least, get you closer, right, to a place that you could do a little bit better for yourself, right? And being a light in the darkness myself, and I'll give myself that permission and that credit because, right, I'm reverse engineering that person by choice, right? I expect that it's going to be painful. I expect that doing it in baby steps, that I will be able to absorb the lessons a lot better. I might enjoy the process a little bit better. I might be able to, in my creativity, be able to contribute to that creation of the best human being I possibly can and create a magnificent, spectacular life for myself, right? A life that I know and I expect because it's my promise to show up here fresh like a loaf of bread, right? That that it might be an example for others to maybe, right? Like we said yesterday, ask a stupid question and start that journey for themselves, right? You might not be on the same journey as me, right? We're all uniques, we're all very different, but there's something similar enough that we're walking in this moment on the same path, right? I'm just as much a student and just as much a spectator as I am a participant and I am as a teacher. I understand that it takes all kinds to make the world. I also understand that we're not on the same field on that idea, right? But we're going to work towards that because the closer we can get to being able to uh, learn to get along with each other, to learn to move within the differences of our cultures, our religious ideas, our spiritual ideas, our political ideas, our traditional, familial, epigenetic ideas, that we can have an opportunity, right, through struggling and a little bit of choice making, making it a little bit uncomfortable, expanding in that a little bit, stretching like an elastic band, that we might find a little bit of comfort, a little bit of joy, right? And there's a difference between joy and fun, right? You can find joy sitting there in meditation. I'm not a meditator myself, right? But you can find that joy in staring at a beautiful landscape, can't you? Or getting an amazing revelation, or somebody giving you a moment of recognition, or a shoulder to cry on, or an ear that you know that's going to listen to you, right? Allow you to feel being seen and being heard. And everybody has that right if that's what you want for yourself. But we all want something different, right? We have our own goals, we have our own ambitions. We are very, very different from each other. But I think at the same token, we're all in the same understanding that, right, if we're here, we want to make it as a pleasant experience as we possibly can. And I think that I have never failed myself in that. I've gotten myself in scary situations. I've made some big doo doo decisions, right? I've made lots of fails, lots of mistakes, lots of limiting beliefs, but it wasn't anything that couldn't be course corrected, and that I'm not in my effort and in my choices course correcting. But I'm not afraid of a few ouchies, right? I don't fear that judgment of what people are going to think about me. Yes, right? Words do hurt. We can say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me because words do hurt the empaths and the highly sensitives, and that's the truth. And we move in this world, right? Wanting to make sure that everybody's comfy, that we're not rocking the boat, right? That everything is under control. We got this. Let me take that from you. Let me hold that for you. Let me take responsibility for that. What else can I do? Right? And we would like to be a little bit more our own persons, and we can't do that. We can't get to that point unless we can struggle a little bit, right? It doesn't have to be a total nightmare, but sometimes life brings us the nightmare because we're not making those choices. And we talked about that yesterday about getting those 360s in our lives, right? Getting cranked that way and having the catastrophes and the heartbreak and the grief and the oh my goodness, I'm done in and I'm never going to get through this, and that stress when we could be making some of those choices ourselves. So when that happens, we have a better idea how to deal with it, or we've dealt with it already. We're already there, and we don't need that crank, right? Clear sailing, right? No ouchies in this moment, right? It's never going to end. There's always going to be ouchies, but I would like to think that in doing that, in stretching a little bit more, expanding a little bit more, pushing a little bit harder, making those difficult choices, enduring a little bit, right? Struggling a little bit, right? Not being so impatient, not being my own worst enemy, being grateful for the miracles that come into my life that remind me, right, that wonderful is right there. And if you just keep moving, the miracles will continue to pop into your life to help ease that mental state that we can all put ourselves in, right? When yeah, when we concentrate too much on how painful it's going to be rather than how much good it's going to do if we do it, right? But again, it's all in our choices. And you can look at people and say, "Oh, but he's so much smarter, he's so much stronger, he's got it together," right? I started somewheres too. And if you want to see where I started, I got all kinds of content. Go find it, and maybe that will be the evidence for you to say that maybe I should give something a shot, right? Maybe I can make a choice, and yeah, don't want to do it, but you know what, if I get this done, let's just get it done, and then afterwards, right, we'll go get ourselves a cup of coffee and congratulate ourselves. Okay, you guys, that's it for change. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I do usually angel card Saturdays on my Instagram. And I think because I've been here on YouTube all week, that I'm going to continue to leave my angel card Saturdays on my Instagram. And I'm going to go in and say hello to my Instagram followers because, I'm sure a few of them that have been sticking with me all these years, right? And for whatever reason, they're not coming here to YouTube, but it doesn't mean they're not throwing me in their own thoughts and in their hearts a little bit of good cheer. So at the very least, I could reciprocate a little bit. So you guys, we'll see you Sunday night, Chatters Live, 7:30 p.m. here on YouTube. I will be back. It's a live show. Great moderators. William here is one of my moderators on my show. Um, and it's awesome. It's Chatters Live. It's Sundays night, and it's not heavy. It's all light. And even though lots of us have mindset mentalities, it's not about anything in particular except to get together, support, love each other, and remind ourselves, right, that we are part of a community, even if it's, right, the bigger community, right? And on Sunday nights, everybody gets an opportunity by their own choice to be seen and to be heard. Okay, William, hope to see you Sunday night here on YouTube, and anybody else who decides they want to pop in our live on Sunday night. Perfect. Love to have you. And if not, we'll be back on Monday and we'll be on the topic of, you got it, choices, because it goes with change, okay? And then we're going to get into some fun. We're going to get into some fun. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. And we'll see each other Monday. Bye bye.